Welcome back. It's another week of the Orange Bumper Podcast. We're pretty excited this week. We've got the one and only notorious Danny Bohn sitting here with us. Danny, of course, is 2014 Bowman Gray Stadium champion. He's running trucks, Xfinity, 5 tour wins. Was that right?
4 or 5, I think.
To include Wheeling Southern, regular Wheeling, and Smart. So touring series about 5. Is that right?
No, I think 4 NASCAR ones, and then a couple. I think the SMRS tour. I
Yeah.
won Orange County. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe 6.
So many he
Or
can't
something
remember.
like
So it's kind of intimidating me sitting around so many champions, guys that sign autographs all the time, and I'm just a zero. But here we are. With us, Burt Myers again, back from his sabbatical last week, with celebrating 101. That's good stuff, man.
Yeah, not too bad. For years, I've gone up against Tim and wins and championships, and everybody knows he got a head start on me. He started before I did, so I've always been playing catch up. And championships are nice, but I've always had my eye on the most wins. So it would go to 7 and then back to 10, and then it just goes back and forth. And you know, the year we're having this year is one of the best years I've had, but I've also had years like Tim Brown's having right now, where you just feel like you're struggling. And, when I say it that way, it's because me and Tim have kind of compared ourselves to each other, I guess, over the years, because we've been two constants racing there together for most of our lives. So to be able to get 101 and tie Tim at the top of the list, and then they count the other one as a career win.
Right.
But that's like I told him the other night. I don't want to stop counting yet.
No
Need to dwell on it. Let's just keep racing. And like I told y'all before, there will be a day where me and Slater and my family are sitting on the porch in rocking chairs. We can talk about it then. But for now, I'm focused on
full steam
trying to
ahead.
get the next one.
Now, Danny, you coming up for the Twin 50s Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be there. We bought tires a couple weeks ago, and then it rained out, so I'm not a big fan of the 25s. So
50s.
yeah. Well,
that's right.
there's Twin 25s this weekend, so we skipped that one.
I still can't get an answer. They're going to do the fans challenge this weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're going to do that. I can't imagine a way to do it that makes much sense. So if they, I don't know how they're going to do that.
I think the laps will be close because they don't count cautions in 50s, so and they do in the 100s. So you'll probably run the same amount of laps, but the disadvantage is the top 6 cars are going to be in the top 6. So like when we do the fans challenge, usually in the 100 lappers, there's a chance that you're going to draw bad, get caught in the wrong line, you get by that guy. But now, like top 6 fastest cars in time are going to be up there, so it's going to make it really tough. They're not putting any extra money.
I have no idea.
6,000 is what I heard. But
yeah,
we'll go over there and see what we got.
So if nobody wins the first race or gets the fans challenge,
we don't know.
Race,
we don't know. I can imagine.
I think it goes to 9,000 for the second race.
Well, here's what I bet. And I can't get an answer, and I hadn't dug too deep. Excuse me. What I kind of envision is if it's Twin 50s and the right now it's up to $6,000. The first race will be $3,000. Second race will be $3,000. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but who knows?
Right.
But like Danny said, whenever I go to a 100 lapper and we draw, I'm not worried about so much where I draw. I'm worried about where him and the other guys are drawing.
Yeah.
Because if I draw 8th and they all draw behind me, I feel pretty good. I've drawn 3rd before, but Danny and Tim draw 1st and 2nd. That's tough, man.
Yeah, that's a race.
So I'm worried about where they draw. Like he said, I can't imagine anybody taking it the first race. I just can't imagine.
So to clarify that, the text I got was June 14th, Twin 50s, fans challenge of 6,000 for the first 50 lapper.
Okay.
And that's from pretty high up there. So
So when it doesn't happen, it'll go to 9.
It'll probably go. Yes, that's the way I.
Because here, I'll be honest with you, we've talked about it. I don't mind saying this because I know you think the same way I do. If they offered it both races and you were to win that first one, you might draw a 16.
Yeah.
So why not take it?
Yeah.
And if you draw a 16, all those other good cars are going to be back there kind of with you. So you might
true.
take it.
Yeah.
But I can't see anybody trying to take it in that first race. I just don't. I'm not saying it's not possible. The night that you were a couple laps down and Jamie said the money's safe, I said, dude, don't say that.
Yeah.
And you came back, you got laps back and won the money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you never can tell, but the way the format is for the Twin 50s,
It's gonna be tough.
It'd be tough. It'd be tough.
Yeah, but and I've said it 1,000 times. I wish they would do away with the 25s and just do Twin 50s.
I agree.
We agree.
Yeah.
But
Well, but I think
guys and this is I don't want this to sound the wrong way. I saw where somebody made a comment about when I said lower division or lower class or something. They gave me a hard time about it. I've said before, I don't mean disrespect. I go up there and watch those races.
yeah.
When I get home, I watch the flow replay. Yeah, I wanted to see me win the other night. I missed the street stock race.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the 4-cylinder races. I missed the second sportsman race. I go back and watch it. I love to watch those races. So when I say lower division, it just means in tier. It doesn't mean it.
Not talent or personality or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what my point was to that, but yeah.
Talking about 25 laps and
25
how the
laps.
second one.
Thank
I
you,
think you were
Phil.
getting to
Thank you,
where
Phil.
the second race it gives a lot of
It
more
does.
inexperienced and lower
So
funded
guys that normally finish 8th, 10th, and 12th, they rely on that.
hmm
And I've been in that position. We've all been in that position.
That's how I won my first race there.
Yeah, that's we've all been in that position. So that's why they keep those Twin 25s alive, I think, is to keep guys coming back and giving them an opportunity. And then let's be honest, Slate's fast. Slate's really fast in practice, but it's about racing and the racecraft and that kind of stuff. And qualifying at Bowman Gray is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Yep.
Because you get one shot. You mess up one time, and that there's 5-6 positions just for
Right.
that one corner that you messed up. Slate, right now, the other night he finished 10th. If I'd have drawn 10th, they'd put him on the pole, he had a shot to win the race.
Mhm.
So I understand why they do it.
Yeah, I
As
do.
a competitive driver that thinks I can sit on the pole and win the race, I don't like them.
But the one thing I've noticed is that on Twin 25 nights, a lot of times your attendance is down. Now, sometimes,
Fans hate it.
well, yeah, they do, but sometimes, like if one of the other divisions has like a 50 lap race or a 100 lap race, something like that, that's the balance. And I get that. But I don't think the modifieds are the ones that slow the show down. I mean, it's pretty much
Well,
get out there, race.
it's a balance. So, and Bowman Gray's perfected it. We know this, and I've told this to Gray how many times. There's lots of things y'all do that I don't agree with, and I don't like them, but I know why you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know why. 100 lap race, I qualify on the pole and I draw 20th. Dude, that's bad, right? But I know why they do it.
Sure.
And they give us a cone.
Mm-hmm.
At least we got the cone now. See, I grew up in a day where there was no cone.
You just have
100 lap
to
road
light up.
race, single file restarts.
Mm.
And you
Single
go
file?
outside, Single file restarts.
Wow.
Single file restarts. Until the TV show came. That's when they introduced the cone. Up until that, everything was single file.
Oh, wow.
Single file restarts.
That's one, like the 25s are okay, but the thing that just doesn't do it for me is the single file restarts.
Yeah.
Like, give me a chance
Give
to
me
get
a
up next
shot.
to the guy
Yeah.
and pass him.
Yeah. You go there to race, not play follow the leader.
Yeah.
mean,
that's-
well, they know you won't play follow the leader a lot of times. Maybe that's why they do it.
Well, I mean, I've always said my favorite 3 people to watch race at the stadium are you, Danny, and Jonathan Brown, because like y'all will get out on the
My
outside.
goal is not to wreck you, but if I'm faster than you, I want you. Give me some. Let me race you.
Yeah.
Let me race you.
Yeah.
And I knock you around, push you around, but my goal's not to turn you. And there's been instances where I knocked a guy, and then he maybe got turned around. That was not my goal. But when you start playing so much defense that it creates a situation where you might get turned around, that was just a product of what was
Nope.
happening. How many times have you pushed a guy up and you stick your nose in there and he cuts you off?
Oh,
You
yeah.
let him have it.
Mhm.
And then coming off 2, you might show him the nose and he squeezes down early coming down the backstretch and you let him have it.
Hold on the next corner.
Yeah. In the next corner, you
Yeah.
give him a little extra. And then he spins out and then he's mad at you. See, I've never understood
Well,
that.
I think there's
I've
some,
never understood
I think
that.
there's some drivers over there like you can play that game and they understand it. They're doing what they have to do to protect. But then there's some drivers like that first time you just let them know, hey, I'm here. They power
They
up.
slow down a
and
half a second.
They power up and they spin around
And
the
listen,
wrong way. And
We've
"Oh,
talked
you
about
took me
this
out."
too,
No, you
and,
took yourself
and
out.
it's. I think this is why it's cool for Danny to be here to talk about Bowman Gray is because we've talked about certain drivers the way they've been driving lately.
Yeah.
And Danny said, I did it. I didn't know when I came into Bowman Gray. I didn't. I grew up there, so it's easy for me to talk about what you should do. Right? It makes me sound like
Right.
I know what I'm talking about, but it's just because I've experienced it. And I've told certain drivers I think I told you this. When I first started at Bowman Gray, my goal was to get by the guy in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
No holds barred, don't care. My goal, I'm faster than you. Get out of my way. That's the way I looked at it. That's the way I drove. And it cost me a lot later
Yep.
in my career. So you got to know the balance there. And in some guys' defense, they don't know. They don't know. I think some guys are learning it
Yeah.
as the season goes on. I think
They'll
some
figure
guys
it
are
out.
learning
That's the thing with
But
that
that's what
place.
that's what it takes sometimes. You have to just go through it.
That's the thing with that place is that every time you guys get the steering wheel in your hand, somebody's going to learn something, whether
Yeah.
it's from you
Yeah.
or you're going to learn from somebody else.
Yeah.
And that place is, I mean, when we do interviews after the race, I'm sitting there saying, "This place giveth, this place taketh away." It's a cruel balance. It is.
It's a show, man.
Yeah.
It's a show.
With all the personalities over at the stadium, it's interesting to me, and I didn't have any doubt that you would come over and do this because we've always all gotten along. But it's funny balancing like friendships in the car and friendships out of the car. Like it's funny how certain people can be your friend sometime, and then you turn right around and you got a dagger in the back.
Mhm.
I mean, have you seen that from the set? Because what a lot of people that are watching probably don't understand, and I probably should have alluded to this beforehand. Are you third or fourth generation? Third.
Third.
So, and your background started up around Wall Stadium, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So it's not like you just started racing, kind of like with Burt, like you're gonna race.
Yeah.
So, have you found that it's like that everywhere you go? Like you've got some people that are friendly to your face until you turn around at the racetrack.
There's some. Like they put the helmet on, they change a little bit, but for me, like I race everybody the same. Like I race people how I want to be raced. If you want to knock in the back of me, then I'm just going to do it back to you. But I like you said before, when I first started racing at the stadium, I had the same mentality. It's like I want to go, beat the guy's back bumper off. But over the years, I've kind of mellowed out a little bit and kind of got just go there to focus on racing and race people the way that I want to be raced.
Yeah, and I think that's how a lot of the guys you can race with probably feel that way. And then there's some people that you just can't, you never will, and you just understand.
And it's funny. There's some that play dumb.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They'll squeeze you in the fence and go, "Oh, did I do that?" You sure did. You knew you did too.
Yeah.
my favorite one's when like you're running for like sixth, and the two cars ahead of you aren't going anywhere. You can't go anywhere. And the guy behind you is just pile driving you into every corner. And after the race, he comes over, "Man, I'm so sorry about that, man. Yeah, I was trying to get." No, you're not.
That is pretty aggravating. Every corner that someone knocking your helmet off. It's like, dude, where are we going?
Right. I mean,
I will, like, if I catch you and you're like from 2-3 car lengths, I'll let you know, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
So hey, do something.
If you want to ride around the guy in front of you, that's fine. But
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
But I'm not going to beat your back bumper off.
No, and that's why,
Well, it depends on who it is too.
Well, yeah, if they deserve it, then
well, it depends on like if it's somebody that I know I can race with,
yeah,
and somebody that I know is. Gotta be careful how I say this. If I catch you, or if I catch Tim or Brandon, and they can't really go anywhere, and I can see they're dragging their feet, I'm like, just a little bit. If it's a car that I know doesn't normally run in that position, and he's really struggling,
oh yeah,
I'll be like, dude, you should probably, give me a little
Get out
room
of the
here because
way.
I'm going to take it if you don't.
Right.
And there's and they, who I'm, there's,
Yeah.
what car, I'm not talking about a certain. I'm not naming a certain driver or car, but we know who they are and they know who they are. But and I don't mean disrespect by saying that. But there's certain times that even though you're running single file, even though you're bumper to bumper, and even though they really can't go anywhere, it's a car that happens to be in front of you because of a situation with a draw or an invert or something. You're like, man, I could really use this spot. You know what I mean? Especially now when you're running for points and they do that average thing. Saturday night, me, Chris, Tim, and Lee, I think maybe Brandon, all had 12 total, position
Combined
points or whatever. So I gained 8 points on Brandon. Even though we all had a 12, we all finished ahead of him in the first race, and that's what trumps it. So Brandon lost 8 points to me. We got the same total added points.
Right.
So sometimes there is that situation where you're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, man, I could use this spot.
Right.
And you might be a little bit more aggressive. Saturday night, I was sitting there and I was counting, and I knew that we were all in the same boat, and I knew that I was sitting there behind the guy I was in front of. I knew the guy behind me was being content. Dude, my goal was to not smash my front bumper in that second race.
Save money.
I was dragging the brake, doing everything I could to not have a problem. Hurry up and get this over with. So, I mean, but there's so many dynamics because it's Bowman Gray, man. We're racing around a football field. What would the one guy say on our thing about, y'all put on a real good go-kart race or something, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing about that is when you click on their profile and they live in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
experience it one time.
That-
Just
and-
come see it one time.
And we tell
you'll
people
be
that.
back, I promise.
We tell people that time and time again. I go faster on the highway getting there than you do on the track. Come watch the show.
Come see it,
Like
man.
it is the best $12. And I think I've said this on every podcast. Come on, men. Come on, ladies' night. The people watching is second to none.
They're passionate, man.
Anything you want to see, you'll see there. You'll see good racing. You'll probably see some people get thrown out in the stands. I heard a whole section got thrown out like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, there ain't no telling.
Like there were 20 people fighting. No, that's got to stop.
Yeah.
But
They've gotten a
you
lot
just
of
don't
that
know
under
what you're
control too. I mean, when I grew up, the city's always owned it or whatever,
Mhm.
right? So when I grew up, there was older, you know this, was it Billy Riggs and that crowd?
Yeah.
It was an older crowd.
Yeah.
That were some of the older Winston-Salem City police officers and whatnot. And they took seniority and they wanted to be the ones to go over there and hang out at the racetrack and make sure nothing happened. And at my generation, when an officer told you something, you listened.
Mm-hmm.
And so just their presence being there, you didn't need but 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a cop standing there, you're like, all right, I better act like I got some sense. Well, as time has progressed and people have changed, it takes 20 cops now
Yeah.
because they don't care.
No,
They don't care.
there's been a culture
I mean,
shift.
look what's going on in our country right now. They don't respect authority.
You want to go down
No,
that hole?
no, I don't.
got
I
time.
want you to get started on that.
Okay.
But anyway, you get what I'm saying, that it takes that many. And then a lot of times you just have to see a cop get in there and put their hands on people.
Yeah.
Cops didn't have to put their hands on me.
Yeah.
When me and Junior Miller used to get into it, and one particular cop, I can remember it, he's like, look, nothing would please me more than to let y'all go at it. But I can't.
Right.
And I said,
Right.
fine. He
Yeah.
said, I'm going to need you to change clothes. And that's the first time I met you.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, I'm going to need you to change clothes and I'm going to need you to leave. And I went in, I changed clothes. He didn't put his hands on me. I walked out. And that's when
That
Philip
was-
met me coming out. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a state trooper. I'm in trouble now.
That's one of my favorite comments ever. He's doing an interview with probably Jeff Hammerneck, if I had to guess, WXI. And I was standing there and he says, yeah, my daddy always told me, you mess with manure, sooner or later you're going to get it all over you. And I got it all over me.
Yeah.
I was like, you need to ride to your car, man? That was pretty slick.
Yeah.
But, well,
Anyway,
getting off the subject of the stadium, came back to Smart.
Mhm.
Had a hell of a damn run up at Franklin County. You finished
4th.
4th. Okay. What was your take on the whole fiasco up there with the dirt and all that? Were you wanting to go back racing or what?
I want to go racing. I mean, we had a really good day. We were second in practice, qualified second.
Y'all were fast, man.
I kind of put myself in a bad position being as far back as I was. Like, the initial restart kind of got freight trained. And you know how it is. Like, they pinch you off when you're on the bottom, right? So it's like, do I run hard to try to stay where I'm at, or do I just fall in line? Well, I think I fell in line in like 9th. Knowing we'd probably have a pretty decent long run and I'd have a good car toward the end. I think we got up to 5th, and then 2 cars stayed out. Should have lined up 7th, but I was like, well, went back to the beginning of the race. It's like, well, I got kind of freight trained when I was on the inside, so let me go to the outside. Well, the outside didn't go, so dropped back to 11th with like 20 something to go, and right as that caution came out when all the oil was on the track, I think we were 6th. But like, I knew I had a car that I could probably put a 1 with if things would have shook out right. So yeah, I mean, when they were talking about canceling the race, I mean, nah, I still got to get in position. Like,
Right.
we don't deserve to be here. We need to be
Right.
and then, with my experience, with the dirt race and all that other stuff, like, I'll adapt to the track conditions. Like,
Right.
if we go in there all dead sideways, I'll be fine.
Right.
So I was kind of hoping I wanted to run the whole distance to
Yeah.
kind of get what we deserved. But then I seen this Kubota go by with this load of dirt. I'm like, are they really doing this right now? And then
you asked for it.
the crew guys, they just dumped a whole load of mud on the track. I'm like, well, I was sitting right where they did some work, I guess, on the infield there. I'm like, I see this whole pile of sand sitting right there. I'm like, Why did we go out in the parking lot and grab a load of clay?
Yeah.
We could have used that, but I mean, I appreciate the Smart Tour allowing us, to finish the race. I mean, I'm sure they probably regretted putting the dirt on the track, but yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like we finished the race, the fans got to see the whole
worked
distance,
out.
and yeah, like you say, it worked.
And
out.
correct me if I'm wrong, but they got everybody together and let everybody have some input as far as like what happened.
The crew chiefs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it's like Jason said, and I was saying the same thing in the car, and you probably were too. They wanted Jason to get in the pace car and go out and check it out. He said, I'm not the one to make that call.
No.
You need to let these guys
Yeah.
out here make a few laps.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said the same thing. I told Jamie, I said, if there's a chance of us trying to go back racing, just let us make a few laps and see.
Yeah.
Let us run it in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was unorthodox, and there was, we can sit here and talk about coulda, woulda, shoulda, but at the end of the day, like I said, it got to show in. And see, I'm just the opposite.
You want to be done?
My car wasn't that great.
Yeah.
And here I am running ninth, and I'm like, nothing's tore up. I'm ninth, and if they go back, I don't know that I'm going to gain anything. And I told Jamie, I said this on the last podcast we were on, we had Jason on here. He said, what do you want? How do you want to vote? And I said, if there's 17 yeses, vote yes. I said, if there's 17 no's, go ahead and vote no.
Yeah.
And I said, don't be that guy. I said, I don't care either way. And we ended up,
You picked up
after the
positions.
stagger, my left rear grew up, right? And so after we sat there, you go back down, best my car had been all night. I ran the fastest lap of the race was a 2.4 something, and I was 1/1000th from being the fastest lap of the race on like 1:07 or something. So my car was finally, and I passed 2 cars. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad we went back racing.
Yeah.
We made the right
I was
decision.
real fast.
We made the right decision.
I had a ton of stagger after that.
Really.
That little
See, mine closed up.
11.
Yeah.
I was sideways getting in the corner, like.
What?
Well, we learned that at Franklin County. It loves stagger. We've
Yeah.
always known that, and so we were afraid of that. But when we
I
made
think you
our
were lacking stagger when I went by. You were.
yeah, it was
You were-
really good. I
you
think
were
you
pretty-
said something
you were
about how
pretty
tight it
tight,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Mine closed up, and I guess when we sat there, it grew. I don't know if the left rear cooled off and shrunk.
Yeah, probably.
But anyway, yeah.
Next smart race is Caraway,
Mhm.
July 4th.
Mhm.
That ought to have that ought to have.
And I'm
pretty
not
good
going.
car
I'm
count.
not going to say any names because he's kind of wanting to make somewhat of a surprise out of it. But we'll have a Northern Invader coming to Caraway.
Okay.
You probably
Yeah,
won't
I
talk
got
about
you
it.
now.
Don't-
Yeah.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Is it your buddy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a good friend of
Alright.
mine.
Yeah, I know it is.
So yeah, I think he's
I'd
trying
love
to make the trip.
I'd love to get him on here.
Trying to make the trip. Well, we won't. Let's don't get.
Yeah, that's
Let's
fine.
don't get too
Spill the
into
beans.
it. But
That's
I think we might have somebody coming that
We-
hadn't raced with us yet.
We were talking earlier before Danny got here, and back in what was it 2013? Was that the Daytona?
Oh yeah,
The what they call it? The Battle at the Beach.
Battle at the Beach.
Yeah. So you're one of the few people that's been upside down and modified. I'm sorry, President Trump. It's not right now. Send you a voicemail. We'll talk later. Yeah, you were upside down and modified,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure Devin's going to put the clip in so everybody can see it. But what happened? Did you get loose and then it snapped right, and then there was Priest and
So I think we touched, and then when we touched, I got sideways, and then we locked front tires, and then you know how that is. You can't hold on. Honestly, like we had a really good year in 2012. We finished second in points. We won a tour race my rookie season, and if you won that year in 2012, you're guaranteed starter for this race. They paid $20,000 to win. We're all excited. I'm like, well, it's kind of like Bowman Gray. Like I go down there and run well, and you know it's first race of the year, so it's like you're really not going to
stacked field too.
Car up. And,
Stacked field.
yeah, there was a lot of good cars down there.
That was the year Kyle Larson ran it.
Yeah, you
And if I'm not mistaken, the night before was when he just bulldozed somebody out of the way on the last lap to win the late
Thank you,
model
Ray.
race
Yep.
before.
Yep.
And all the modified guys, especially the guys from up north, were like, yeah, do that in the modified and see what happens.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, that,
And
like,
then,
you were
And then
up-
was it Kobe did it or Park did it to Stefanik?
Yeah.
It made
Yeah.
national
Hispanic had
news.
the famous interview.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I've always said I can't be mad at somebody doing something I would have done too.
Yeah.
So
For 20
for
grand,
20
I
grand,
probably would have. Yeah,
Battle
I
at the
probably would've did it.
Beach or Daytona, 20
You-
grand. I'd probably showed him
You
out of
didn't
the way
get
too.
burned in that, did you?
No, so
No, I saw you
actually,
coughing and hacking.
yeah. Well, they shot the fire extinguisher there. So that was, yeah. We touched right there. there,
Oh,
and then we
yeah.
locked tires, and then
Is that Priest in that car then?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, I remember touching, and then I remember heading straight toward the fence, and I'm like, this ain't gonna be good. And then I remember the point, like I kind of feel like I was blacking in and out, like or just I don't recall all of it, but I remember looking straight down at the racetrack. I'm like, this really ain't gonna be good. And then when it rolled over there, like I was telling you earlier, as soon as it rolled, it peeled the roof back. So like now, you know how it is. Like your helmet's almost flush with the top bars. So as soon as it peeled the roof back, I'm looking down. The blacktop's right there. There's sparks bouncing off my helmet. And I know I was running halfway decent. I think I was 5th or 6th there. And I knew there was a bunch of cars going by. I could see the cars going by. And when I first stopped, I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then it caught on fire, and I'm like, oh, this ain't
Well, no
good.
wonder you got Ignite on the back of your car.
I know, yeah. It's kind of fitting, right? But yeah, that was the first year that they came up with they got rid of the dome windshield, and they started making us run the quarter-inch Lexan, and which was honestly a blessing in disguise. Like, the inside of the car burned almost like flush with the right side of me, like, down inside the cockpit, but the driver's side, there was nothing because of that Lexan windshield.
Yeah, well, okay.
And then, for whatever reason, when we first did that over the wintertime, I thought it was really weird that we'd had the cutout for the throttle rod and nothing, around it.
Yeah.
So we actually made a piece. The guy that helped me on my car made that filler piece that NASCAR mandated afterwards.
Now they have to, yeah.
Yep. So,
see, I didn't even know that's getting the rest of the story here.
Yeah. So they, that quarter-inch Lexan windshield definitely stopped everything from coming in. But then so I was sitting there and then it caught on fire, and I'm like, well, hell, I got to get out now. And then I pulled the belts, and I was flopping around on the dash and had no idea which way was left, right.
You're just looking for daylight.
Yeah. And honestly, there's a part of the video you see a guy reaching the passenger side. You could tell where, obviously, I sit with the floor pan there. There's a guy reaching in from the other side of the car, and I'm in there flopping around like a fish out of water. Well, he's pulling on my ankle, and I'm like, well, I guess that's the way I got to go. So I see he's in there pulling me right now.
The guy on the right side of the screen there. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I guess that's the way I got to go. Well, I had a bunch of wires wrapped around my ankle, so I didn't know if I was on fire or something was broke. So when I get out, I jump, but I had the kill switch wire wrapped around my ankle and all that. But yeah, I go out that side there.
Well, and it's not like you can practice that,
No.
Like when I was with the Highway Patrol, anytime we get a new car, like when we went from the Crown Vic to the Charger or the Charger to the Explorer, one of the things I would always do is I'd get buckled in the car, and then as stupid as it sounds, I'd close my eyes and I'd work on going out the passenger side window. I'd work on getting in the back and going out the back window in case you get in a wreck, catch fire, whatever. You can't practice that.
No.
Like there's no, fighter pilots can do that crap where they go upside down and dunk you and walk. You can't practice that.
No. There, 22nd B Myers. I had a good day.
Yeah, you were good.
I think I got the left front knocked off or something. Yeah, Jason ran good. I think I knocked the left front or something. I don't even know telling. That's crazy. I told Danny before we started, I don't wish that on anybody. But maybe I should have waited because I was asking Danny questions about how did it feel? What did you do? And so yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
You're probably better off if you don't experience.
I hope not.
The worst part about that whole deal was it was the first race of the year. Car was fresh.
We
were looking forward to a really good year, and destroyed
How bad did
it.
it tear it up, clip wise? And
honestly, we didn't clip it. It ground the roll cage bars down quite a bit. We repaired that.
Just bolting on stuff.
Yeah, I got a lot of help. Ray Everham helped me get it back fixed. Jimmy Blewett sent a bunch of parts down to get it fixed, but that was kind of the start of the snowball. We went to Caraway, the first actual points race, and I nosed it. I don't know if you remember, they put 900 pounds of speedy dry out. They gave us one lap to run it in. Well, I ended up nosing into the infield.
I don't remember. That's happened so many times at Caraway. I don't.
So right there, and then we went to South Boston, and I nosed it in the inside, just a bad year.
Yeah.
And then you turn right around the following year and you win the championship at Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
Now that was in Puddin's car, wasn't it?
It was. Yep. So that's I still go up and visit Puddin all the time. I didn't grow up at Bowman Gray, and I know there's a lot of history, and I respect the history of the track, but it's not like something I grew up around.
Right.
And when I was able to win the championship for him, like it meant more to be able to do it for him
Yeah.
than myself. And like it was the start of a great relationship. Like I still have SNR Motor Company on the back of my car now, and still stop by and see him. I'd like to somehow figure out how to get his car back out on the racetrack and let him see it go around there. But yeah, I mean, we did win. Some people, there's some takeaways from that. Like you and Tim got penalized those points, but part of, like, we still ran well that year. I think we blew up 2 motors. We had a couple DNFs, just mechanical stuff. But like, if you just average in a decent finish those nights, I'd have been right there with you guys. But no, I wouldn't have won it if.
Yeah, but
Was that when you and Tim had the demo derby?
Yeah.
Going to turn 1?
Yeah. That's him.
Yeah, I won that race. Thanks.
That was still a mystery.
And a lot of people
went on that night was a little nuts anyway. So
you think that night was nuts?
well, just the way it went down. I think
like 74 million people on YouTube that say otherwise.
Yeah, but, not
Not
us
when
running
power
over
runs.
each other, just how it all transpired.
Yeah.
But I think it was a situation where it wasn't about that night. I think
No, that was a straw.
Tim was a
broke
ticking
camel's
time
back.
bomb. He was ready to pop.
Yeah.
So
If
it just so happened. Yeah, here we go. Thanks, Devin.
if you rewind it, you'll see me go by when they start that. Yeah, I think this.
The rumor was that he messed his motor at that night.
Well, I would say there's probably a pretty good chance both y'all did.
Yeah, I was running 4.
Now I'm glad it says it that way. Burt hit Tim, then Tim spun out, because I didn't dump Tim. I gave Tim a shot getting into the corner, and he got out to the wall.
There's old Danny.
Yeah, there I am.
There's Danny. Just sitting there loving every moment of this at the time.
I think he pits, right, and then comes back out.
Yeah,
or something.
he pit and then come out right in front of me on the racetrack. My car was still okay after all that, but they wouldn't let me go back out.
They wouldn't let you go back out.
Yeah, so he runs you in the fence. Lee stops, and then I'm like, I just drove right by, and then it rained. Remember, it rained right after that.
I don't remember.
It did. Yeah, it rained after that.
See, here he comes out of the pits.
So Lee's involved.
Oh yeah.
There I go. Yep.
I will say, after this happened, that was my older car. After that happened, we put the Blewett bar in it.
Really?
My daddy insisted. He said because there's tire rubber all over. He just had the one bar. Because that's that 086 Troyer.
Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, let's move on.
I've never gotten into anything like that, but if somebody just sat there and beat my car under caution, it'd take a whole lot to hold me back.
Well, see, I've been in this situation before. You always have, I'm still in this thing on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to just blow your whole night for something stupid. And just like whenever I pulled in the pits and they're like, I think the car's okay. I said, I know. And they made me get out. I was ready to go back out and finish the race.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that point too, where you're like, no, to hell with this, man. I'm not going to let this happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean,
Place
so
giveth and the place
it's
taketh
Bowman
away.
Gray, man. It's Bowman Gray. I would rather go over there and everybody have the same mentality I think that me and Danny have. We said this a couple weeks ago. When me and Danny, I don't know how many times it's been vice versa, restarts. Me and Danny very rarely have a problem on restarts because we respect each other enough to say, okay, dude, we're going to wait. We're going to get down here. Best man win.
Well, both y'all are aggressive, and both of you know that. And aggressive's fine. That's what racing is. But there's a difference between aggressive and dirty.
Yeah.
And, you can race.
Like, how many, guys, you know exactly who, there's a few that when you're on the pole and they're outside. And before you get to the middle of the corner, they're already doing this to you. And you're only on the bottom.
Right.
It's like, if I wash out and you bang me, that's one thing.
Sure.
But dude, I'm in my groove. Stay in yours.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Well, how many times does that backfire and you end up wrecking? Like
Yeah.
my goal when I go over there, it's like I want to run as hard as I can. I want to run the best that I can. I want to have the best finish that I can. but I don't want to have to work on it all week.
Right,
Like, I don't want to
Right.
repair the right front. I don't want to. You've been pretty bad the last couple of years about making me build body panels,
I do.
but
It seems like every time something happens, I run into the back of Danny's car and crunch his back panel in.
years ago it was me and Jason. Like it was all racing incidents, but every time we wrecked, it was me and
It was
Jason.
always the two of you.
It was like we couldn't get away from each other. But yeah, I enjoy working on them. I enjoy doing trying to find speed, but I don't want to be fixing stuff all week.
Right.
Well, you want to spend your time finding speed, not fixing.
Well,
Exactly.
and in that same sense, it's a mentality that it's not about money. I mean, it always is about money, but it's not about money. And it's not necessarily about the work. It's about, how can I say? All right. A guy that races, let's use the Northern Tour, because there's a lot of guys that show up with a helmet.
Mhm.
Okay. They don't see the car.
I did that like first time in a modified at Franklin County. It's not a bad deal.
It's not,
not
I've
a bad
done
deal.
it. I've done it.
It's pretty nice.
But, and you probably subconsciously had this mentality I'm getting ready to talk about. When you get in a car that when you get there, you don't have to worry about a thing but driving it. And they check up and you pow, and you pop somebody and knock a front bumper in a little bit. You go home.
Yeah.
When they check up and I pop somebody and knock a front bumper, dadgummit, there's $100.
No,
I gotta get dadgummit, and I gotta get another bumper. Then I gotta take it to the powder coater. So that's the mentality that we have when we're working on our own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you show up with a helmet and you don't care about the money and you don't care about the car, you drive it differently.
I'm sure.
You really do. So
it's funny you said that. So I was at Franklin County. It was my first show up and driving. I'm like, I told Andretti, and like, that's the cool part about them. We've raced 15 years with them. I've never had an issue with them.
Right.
Great people. I told them when I got there, I'm like, hey, as stupid as this sounds, I'm going to try to do absolutely nothing today besides drive the car. Like, let you guys do what you normally do. I'm not going to say what it's
that's hard, though.
right, wrong. I'm going to try my best to do the least I could possibly do. So they were just laughing, but yeah, back to that mentality. When I knock a bumper in at the stadium, it's like, damn, it's $100. I spray paint mine because I go through so many of them. But a certain driver kind of ran me a little rough at Franklin County, ran me up in the fence, and like I didn't see red, but I'm like, I'm gonna let him know I ain't happy. So I caught him before I even did it. I keyed up. I said, I'll buy the front bumper. Next corner, I smashed the front bumper, and she's like, what the hell, man? I said, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, but I had to do it. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
And it was funny. But I get both sides.
Yeah, I do too. I do. I don't blame the guys that do it the other way.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. But at the same time, I've always said this: it's hard to respect for a guy that does that. It's hard to respect. It's hard for him to respect our equipment when he don't respect his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I respect my equipment enough that I'm not going to run in there and knock your rear bumper off because it's going to knock my front bumper off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
But if you're not paying for it and you're not working on it,
That's definitely a different
it's just
mentality.
front bumper. Just front bumper. Well, not to me. Not to me. It's not just front bumper.
To me, one of the most exciting tracks to watch the modifieds at is Bristol, just because it's crazy. What was more exciting for you, running a modified at Bristol or running in the Xfinity at Daytona?
So, like, I don't know. Like, I struggled at Bristol in the modified. I think it was just, again, it was something I wasn't wasn't familiar with the faster speeds, I guess. So I did finish seventh that one year. The first year we went there, I finished second for the smart race because it was a different race. I wish it was funny. Like, me and Georgie were running like side by side with a handful to go, and I'm like, man, I'm good. If I finish seventh, I'm good. I had no clue that it was two separate
I've done
races.
that before, yeah.
So like, I kind of like, I'm not gonna wreck for seventh. Like, let go.
Right.
He ends up winning the damn race, and after the race, I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna beat him.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't know that at that time. And then we went back, went with Frank's car, and then I went back with my car one, and just never really had the speed. I think if I went back now, I'd be a whole lot better just because I've got a lot more experience. But you know, like, it's hard to compare anything, but you've kind of been able to live in it a little bit lately with doing your cup starts. Like, to be able to be involved in that side of NASCAR, it's, you know, like, did my career go the way I wanted it to? No, but like, am I extremely fortunate to be able to done what I did? Like,
Yeah.
5 years ago, I jumped in my pickup truck, drove the Daytona. I ran the truck race and the Xfinity race. 2 days before the Daytona 500. Like,
Yeah.
if you would have told me 20 years ago, hey, you're going to go down there and run 2 of the 3 biggest races of the year, I was, yeah, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I wish I was still doing it? Absolutely. But, you know, we all know it takes a lot, and you know, it's funding, it's backing, it's
money,
manufacturing, and support, and you know, like, I'm sure you figured this out too. Like, you take the guy that you think is like, yeah, he ain't that good. You know, he's still a hell of a damn good race car driver.
Yeah.
And you're not, like, at that level, you're not going to get in and outdrive these guys and make up for equipment that you don't have. And I'm not knocking what I was able to do. Like, we did a lot for what we had, but you know, if you're not in a top ride, like, good luck.
I tell people the prime example, and I don't know how you feel about him, but I think Kyle Busch is one of the best race car drivers that's ever sit in a race car.
Mm-hmm.
And when he runs 15th to 20th, tells you sometimes it's not just the driver.
It's the whole package.
It's the whole package.
Especially, and it's like, yeah, we can get in the modifieds and be off a little bit and drive.
You can make up.
You can
make
compensate.
up well, and I think you can attest to this too. The biggest one, because people, you've probably been asked this question: what's the biggest difference between a truck or Xfinity and a modified? What's the biggest difference? I said the biggest difference I took away from it is in a modified, when I'm off a little bit, I can hustle the car and make up spots. In one of those cars, when you hustle, you slow down.
Yeah,
it's just what you got is what you got. And JJ Yaley told me that because you know he was driving for Willie some, and he was kind of coaching me a little bit, and he said the thing about it is, and it changed my mindset about watching practice or looking at practice times for Cup and thinking, well, that guy qualified bad, but he'll race good. And that's what I used to think. Oh, yeah, but he'll race good. He'll race good. Well, with us, we can qualify 10th at Franklin County. That the year before last, qualified 12th, and I won a race.
Mm-hmm.
That's not uncommon in modifieds. But JJ said, here's the deal. You unload, you suck all day.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know this at the time. Whenever we were at the Clash and we were fighting to get the car better in the car, we never jacked it up. And Jamie looked at Tony Jr. and he said, dude, I've been to Hickory with you and tested a modified. We changed the shocks and springs 70 times. And you ain't jacked this car up yet. He said, we can't.
You can't.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when you, and if I'm not wrong, don't you submit your setup?
I'm not sure.
Officials?
I'm not sure.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there might be some sort of policy there where I know they safety wire or they put a seal of some kind on the shock and spring.
Yeah, I know that now. Like I think they mandate they only give you a certain amount of shocks that you can run and springs you can run.
So you have to tell them this is what I'm going to run, and then they put the seal on it. So when you show up and you're not good, there's only so much adjustment you can do. But I'm the same way. I've said this before. I used to pray when I was younger, God, just let me make it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me make it. I think he knew I wasn't ready for that, and there's no telling where I'd be right now had I made it at that age because I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And in a certain way, same like you said, I feel like I've made it, just not the way I thought I was going to make it.
Right.
But who am I to complain about being able to race a race car?
Yeah.
Being able to do what we do.
When
people dream of that. Now, so I know how blessed we are to be able to be a part of what we get to do week in and week out.
I got an education getting to know George Phillips. I don't know if you know George or not, but you know, he's a up and coming late model guy, and I was learning about the TRD program, and I had no idea how, and specifically Toyota, how they start grooming the future of motorsports. And it's like, you know, with football and basketball, you've got IMG Academy down in Florida. You know, you go to IMG Academy, you're going to go to a D1 school, full scholarship, and odds are you'll probably get drafted in your respective sport. Well, TRD, you know, and he's 16 years old, and they've got him. He's a nutritionalist. He's got you know, PR guy. He's got, you know, unlimited sim time. He's got full Toyota backing, and he's a great kid. He's got great mentors. But I had no idea that there was that kind of investment. As well, like with you guys, it's just like, you know, trophies equate to people understanding you can drive, and hopefully you get a call.
Yeah,
and that's two very different ways of how people.
When we were growing up, it was based off performance.
Yeah.
So that's
Don't you
where.
agree?
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's kind of how I felt like the more I raced, the more I won. The better chance I would have to have an opportunity. Like if I could rewind and go back, and there's been certain kids that reach out to me like, hey, like what can I do? And it's like, as dumb as it sounds, like, yeah, you need to be a good race car driver, but you also have to have backing. You have to have funding. So if there was times I raced 40 races a year, and it's like, well, if I did 15 and I really concentrated on those 15, won the same amount or close to won the same amount, but spent that other time working on funding, I'd probably be still doing it.
Right.
But I just focused like, hey, I had the mentality, the more
If
I'm
I
out
win,
here,
they'll want me.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, I think there's a big difference. You and I have talked about this a lot. You know, you're either a race car driver or a business person, marketing person. Very rarely do you find both of those in one person.
Yeah.
And it's where you guys like you race, like that's what you know, that's what you're good at. And when you're good at it, that's what you focus on. But now it's such a business, and there's one particular driver I always use as an example, and he's a 25th place Cup car every week. I've seen him do interviews, and it's like watching paint dry. No personality, but tremendous funding and a great team. And I'm sitting there thinking, there are so many more people that would be better in his seat, but he's got the funding.
Yeah.
He's got the
How
funding.
old are you, Danny?
36.
36. So I don't know if you went through this. So when I was coming up and I was running around with Danny Kohler to all the Cup races and stuff, trying to get in front of people and meeting owners and all that kind of stuff. Well, I was 20 years old. I didn't have a resume, right? I don't know if I hadn't ever won a race yet at 20 years old. Now the Myers name and the Myers family, that's what he all talked about, but I didn't have a resume. So when Danny introduced me to these people, it's like, yeah, but what's he done?
Right.
What's he done?
Yeah.
At 20 years old, what's he done? What's he done? Well, when I got 35 years old, look at my resume now.
Yeah.
Well, we want this kid that's got
Yeah.
plenty of money
The
that-
paradigm shifted.
So I got
Yeah.
jumped. I got jumped. At that time, they wanted the 30-year-old driver with experience.
Yeah.
Don't want to tear my stuff up. It's going to get me a good solid finish. We might not win, but we're going to finish top 10, and we're not going to tear anything up today. Sponsors will be happy. And then next thing you know, we don't care what we tear up because we got funding, and we don't care if you can drive or not.
Yeah.
And I kind of got jumped over.
I kind of feel like
because you're a
I was,
little younger than me, so I don't know if you experienced that or not. But
yeah, I mean, it definitely it's funding based when I got my opportunities for sure. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like 10 years before I started racing, if I was like that 40, 50 range, 45, 50ish range, I think you probably could have made it on talent more than, like later years. But yeah, it's tough, and I get it. Like we go,
Yeah.
it's
Can't be
expensive
mad
on
at
these cars.
nobody.
Somebody needs to pay for it. So
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
and I get the team side. Like, why are we going to chase the money if this guy can come with the money? Like,
Right.
it eliminates personnel, it eliminates aggravation. Like, let them bring the money. But I think you'd have better racing if you had more talent. But
Absolutely.
again, it's a business. But
So correct me if I'm wrong. So let's say you have one of the few 4-car teams, and let's say 2, maybe 3 of those cars are competitive, and you got one who's just 25th place car, but they bring funding. So is the way it works, and just for the sake of argument and round numbers,
he's checking to see if he got his call.
yeah,
Are we legal or not?
no, I know I'm legal. I'm just waiting on my call.
if it
I need to get my motor back together.
I'm gonna go ahead and step aside. and let them talk.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
If it costs, say, $15 million to run a season, then they're not banking on spending that $15 million on that one car. They're hoping to bring that full sponsorship and maybe only spend 6 or 7 and take the other and put it towards the more competitive cars. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, I think it's just
Probably.
like any other business. You got to spread it, right?
Yeah.
You got to make it all work.
I mean, same thing. I think I can relate to that because, like with me and Slate racing, Ben Gable owns the car that he runs at the stadium, but the tour car is family car.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done this for years. It's how I've made it work racing other places is you take your Bowman Gray money because everybody wants to be in front of people at Bowman Gray. You take your Bowman Gray sponsorship and you use some of that to race smart.
Right.
And so with us having 2 teams now on the smart tour, same thing. Slate's car I don't think it has but one sponsor. Bryson Brothers is the only sponsor on that car, but the stadium car's full.
Right.
So you have a good week at the stadium. You say, okay, we're going to put a little of that over there.
Yeah,
to
gotta
go
spread it
Callaway.
out.
So same thing. I think it's that you would assume they have to. But if I'm a sponsor, unless there's a tie of some kind, I would rather be on the car that's up front.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Well, that's who the cameras follow.
yeah.
I mean, we learn with the Clash, whether you cleared yourself or Ricky didn't cut you a break, either way,
We crashed. Let's just say that.
crash. but you know, like this, the Citrusafe on the hood,
Yeah.
you know, like unfortunately that incident will be replayed
Yeah.
over and over and over. So from a sponsorship point of view, you know, did Citrusafe get its money's worth? I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the marketing team, I'm not quite sure who it is, but whoever the marketing team was blew it out of the water leading up to the clash. I mean,
Well,
honestly, but Citrusafe got their money's worth. Is what I'm saying.
it's without naming any names or anything, you think about certain drivers who have come through the Cup sport, right? NASCAR Cup, that everybody pretty much knew they weren't much of a race car driver, but they had a niche. And I'm not going to go into detail, but if you have a niche, then you get the camera.
Yeah.
If you get the camera, you get the sponsors.
Mhm.
Yep.
And there's certain people who have made a career or somewhat of a career of just playing off of that niche.
Mhm.
And there's few I can think of that's never won a race. There's a few that have won a few races here and there, but they get unbelievable.
Well, there's truck
sponsorship
Xfinity and I don't
because the camera's on them.
and
So
I don't
that's what it's about.
I don't think they're in the Cup yet, but I don't understand how wearing next to nothing on social media means you're a good race car driver. Like I see some of these I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I'll get hated on
yeah,
forever.
probably not.
I
But
just
we've made our point, I think.
yeah. I mean,
The
I
tough
just-
part for me always was, and this is where like I worked my butt off, and I was extremely fortunate to have the sponsor I did with the truck stuff. But you know, back to the coverage and stuff, like yeah, it was you working with Ricky was great. Like you got a lot, and you having the experience and the history of Bowman Gray brought extra attention to
That
you
was my
at the-
niche.
Exactly.
Right.
yeah,
But
that-
like
exactly.
if you went like I'm sure you didn't get as much coverage at Martinsville.
No.
And it's like so like for me what I struggled with was like we weren't a top tier team. We weren't running up front every week. And it's like if I got 20 seconds of TV time during the whole 2.5 hours, like that was a lot. But
Absolutely.
it's like they'll talk about the same 10 people all the time. And it's like I worked my butt off to get the sponsorship that I had, put in the same amount of effort, but I don't get recognized for it. And then like you know, just my whole truck career was tough. It was during COVID. So imagine going to Kansas or Texas or Talladega. Hey, you get no practice.
Yeah.
You go putt around for 2-3 laps more and just go. And it's like,
Yeah.
this isn't, I've never been here in my life, like run the simulator, but that was
This ain't cool.
most of
Right.
my truck career was we had no practice. So it was like, you know, if I had a half out, it'd take you to
I'll
first.
think about that.
It's one
sometimes.
thing
Like,
if you got Matt Crafton experience.
Yeah.
It's another when you've never even seen the track.
There
You're
was a-
like, all right, green
okay,
flag,
so
have a time.
That day I did Watkins Glen and Bowman Gray in the same weekend, I never ran a lap around Watkins Glen in my life. And we had run well the race before. So I started 11th at Watkins Glen. Never turned a lap at speed in anything there. And my first lap was green flag.
man.
It's like, I mean, give me a chance.
Yeah,
at least.
give me a chance, right?
Let us do 5-10 laps to kind of.
I want to see. I want to see a I want to see the modifieds run a road course. We talked about this
That'd
last
be cool.
time.
I had the plan if they'll just
It would be so cool.
they'll do it. That
I mean,
We
Dominion
can
so
do that
cool.
Dominion, right?
Yeah.
Dude. Just
Do a double
same day,
header.
same
Friday night,
day,
Saturday
same
night.
car. Yeah.
Have they announced what they're going to do about the New River weekend?
I was told that hypothetically that the track could possibly be leased, even though the track management has shut down. That the track could possibly be leased
Okay.
and still run the race,
Okay.
but nothing's been announced or anything. And
That's
that's just a
interesting.
rumor that I heard. So
that was a cool track.
it's I ran there back in, was it Colma or one of them? Maybe it's before Colma. Way back in the day, I won. I won the race. It was really weird. This was back whenever it was a 125 lap race, and you had to make a green flag pit stop, like the shootout used to be. You had to make a green flag pit stop between 25 and 100. You had to make a mandatory stop. If you didn't take tires, you had to stop, jack it up, let it down, and take off. I don't remember if it was a Colma race. I know the race director that was running it that day for sure.
You related to him?
Yes. So we went green flag. We went green flag, and we cycled through. We came in, we jacked up, we went back out and everything. School board's got me leading. We win the race. We get our picture made. We get the victory lane stuff, the whole 9 yards. 20 minutes or so later, we're told that they might be a scoring issue. an hour and a half later up in the booth, I was told that the scoring was incorrect and
I
David
remember that.
Calabrese won the race.
I remember
You did
that.
not. But that was my experience. We called it Coastal Plains.
Yeah.
We always called it Coastal Plains. But that was my experience there. But that's the only other time I'd run that track. So I won it. But it was another one of the situations where the trophy didn't go home with me. So.
This was something I wanted to get both y'all's input on because I think this would be good. If the two of y'all were going to get together and create a modified series, what are some different things that you would want in your series? And I'm not saying anything's wrong with existing series. I'm just saying, like, do you go in there and you say no tire rules? If you want to, no tire rules.
Well, here's your key question, though. What we've talked about, this whole thing revolves around is the funding. Are we talking about funding's not an issue? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's all about the money. No matter if you're talking about racing or a series or what kind of car you drive or what your house payment is. It's always about the money.
All right. Well, all right. How about this? What motors should be legal?
Let me say this. When the Smart Series first started back up, it was spec motor with 830. All other motors run a 390 carburetor. And we've been into this before about the whole 390 carburetor with the finger over the water hose.
Yeah.
Choke. You put a 390 carburetor on whatever motor you want. You see people advertise, I love this. You'll see a motor advertised on Marketplace. This is an 800 horsepower motor. The first question I have for that person is, what carburetor did you have on there when you made 800 horsepower?
Right.
Because you put a 390 on it, you might make 600, right? So that's what the rule was in the beginning. But the rule was formatted to try to get cars because there was no car count. Back before the old Southern Series, it was no good. We had 6, 7 cars all the time. So the goal was to try to see how many cars we can get to come to race with us. So these Bowman Gray guys, if we tell them, look, we don't care about your motor. We don't care. Just put a 390 carburetor on it. And we started getting cars and started having counts. And then next thing you know, it leads into more tech and more this and more that. And the more rules you have will ruin racing. But at the same time, you have to have enough rules to where everybody's
it's got to be a level playing field. I mean,
so to answer your question, that's not a yes or no question.
All right. Let's alter the question then.
The competition is so stout now that you've got 8 to 10 cars that if they had a 15, 20 horsepower advantage, that's a big advantage.
Oh yeah.
Where back then, I've said before, and I've kind of changed my mind now because the competition is so stout. I've said for years, when you go to Caraway and you're 25, 30 laps into the race, I don't care if you got more horsepower than I got. You're not going to beat me with it. Well, the cars are so good now. The teams are so good now. Dude, you kind of got to have
it all.
You got to have it all.
So change the question then.
You didn't let Danny answer that question.
I always you sat in the same meetings I did. Like it's the motor thing is what kind of gets me. Like we ran the Southern Tour. NASCAR put a lot of effort into, figuring out what combinations worked, what combinations were equal. And then I told them from the start, like, if you start messing with motor rules, it's going to turn into a disaster. So don't shy away from that NASCAR motor rule that they've had. They put a lot of effort into figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we're going to allow this. We're going to allow that. We're going to allow this. And then it's turned into
a disaster.
Yeah. When we first started the Smart Tour back up, the motor rule was spec with an 830, all other motors 390, and every car weighed 2645. And I've preached this from the beginning. It wasn't about the rules, how they affected us. It was how they affected the series and their officials. And what I mean by that is don't outkick your coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Think about this. If a spec runs an 830 and all of the motors are on a 390 and every car weighs 2645, how easy does that make your job as an official? Spec motor, okay, 830, yep, 390, yep, every car 2645. Next, 2645. Next, 2645. Now it's, built motor can weigh this, and spec motor can weigh this, and a progressive motor can run this carburetor, and a built motor can run it. It's like, whoa. You're out kicking your coverage. You don't have the manpower to regulate what you're doing. And the one thing I will say, and I don't mind saying this about the Smart Tour, it's obvious that Jason didn't mind saying it's funny because I want everybody to know this. Jason and Chris Williams talked, and they both laughed about what happened. Yeah. So don't think that Smart's mad at Jason or Jason's mad at Smart. And I don't think Jason led on like he was
No,
being smart. He was just stating
no,
facts. But
yeah.
anyway, one of the things I've said about Smart in the last, let's say 2 years, because there were when some major changes happened was the beginning of the year last year,
Mhm.
personnel wise. I said, think about in your mind, get a notepad and a pen and write down the top 5 things that need to be fixed. Priority, the top 5 things, and stop writing. Fix those 5 and start a new list. But what happens is they make a list and it keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. And the next thing you know, just because this number 12 down here, the most people are hollering about number 12. Now number 12 goes to number 1.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. 1 through 5 is a lot more important than number 12. The chip rule. We had the chip rule with the spec motors had to run a 7800 chip. I'm not knocking Smart for doing that because they did research and maybe they had their reasons. But my point to that is who cares, right? That is not priority. You got a lot more stuff that needs to be dialed in.
Mm.
Now, with that being said, look at where Southern Modified Racing is away from Bowman Gray. Look at where it is now compared to where it was. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's amazing.
wonderful.
So they've done some things. And I've said before, I wouldn't want Chris Williams' job.
No,
No.
no.
I wouldn't want that job.
So no thank you
dude,
job.
it's tough because you always have somebody arguing with you. You always have somebody
Well,
complaining.
race car drivers are just like troopers. You can have a problem, and people bitch and moan about it. You fix it, they just find something else to bitch and moan about. Like that's just how it is.
Well, my thing is, and I think I honestly can go to bed at night saying this, and I hope they believe me. I've never made a suggestion because Chris will call and ask and talk to different drivers and teams and whatnot. And
good.
Chris was used to. I've kind of tried to separate myself from that a little bit, but Chris used to lean on me a lot because I was so involved with a lot of the Southern Modified stuff, and my family grew up in it. And there's not much that I don't know about. I'm not tooting my own horn, but there's not much that I don't know about when it comes to rules and procedures and how Southern Modified Racing operates. So Chris would lean on me a lot. And I never, to this day, I can honestly say I've never suggested anything or given my opinion on anything rule or procedure based that was the best for me.
I
It's
believe that.
always what was best for the tour. Prime example, the first year I won, not the first year, the second year, whatever it was, I won 3 races, I think. And there was a lot of teams saying, instead of a 100-lap race with a tire change, we need to run a 75-lap race with no tire change. And I said, I don't think that's best for the series. And they said, well, you won 3 races. That's why you're saying. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Look at how many races I was leading at 75 laps
Mhm.
and lost.
Yeah.
What was best for Burt was to run 75
Right.
laps,
Yeah.
but it wasn't best for the show. We need a pit stop. We need a strategy. They're talking about now about readjusting the stage break at lap 30. I don't think it's a good idea. And when they ask me, I'll tell them that. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's part of the strategy. It's part of the race.
Mhm.
The series from NASCAR to the other Southern deals that have had halfway breaks or the halfway breaks and not losing positions, the top 8 guys stay the top 8 guys. There's no mixing up.
Mhm.
How many times have you been to Caraway and pitted at lap 30 and went ahead and rolled your lefts because your car wasn't very good? And you got, oh, Jonathan did it in Buddy's car. Remember,
I
pitted
won.
early?
I won Carteret.
Carteret, that's right,
Pitted-
Carteret.
Did my pit stop at 30.
Right, did his pit stop at 30, rode around there, caught the caution, got the track position, won the race. That's part of what makes it exciting.
I agree with that.
Let's follow the leader stuff and running balls to the wall all day long and all night long. And they at one time, that one series wanted a harder tire on the right rear. Guys are burning their tires off and you have to ride around all night. Learn how not to burn your tires off.
Yeah.
Don't give them a tire. And there's certain series now that have a tire that you just run wide open all night long. And the top 8 stay the same top 8. That's not a show.
I think the format's actually pretty
Right now it's good.
There's always some kind of passing or something going on you can still play the strategy. Like a couple guys pitted lap 30 at Franklin County, right? Stayed out when we all pitted lap 80, something like that, and we're on the front row and kind of shuffled the field up, and then we weeded them out. But there's passing going on.
The only thing is, I think one of those is the one that caused the big wreck where there was oil all over the track.
And then they put the mud on the track.
Maybe I was behind the guy that I don't know. I don't
Stayed
know.
out,
Anyway,
yeah.
anyway, let's get back to we got in the rabbit hole again.
If Chris comes to y'all and says, all right, guys, I want to know what the 5 tracks, funding not a problem, we'll help pay for you to get there, whatever. 5 tracks modifieds need to race at. that you think would be the best modified racing?
Hmm.
Where would you?
You want to go first? Because I'm gonna have to think about it.
I have to think about it too. I think a road course would be badass.
I'd
Like, that would
love to
be.
do a road
Yeah.
course.
I think that would
Yeah.
be really cool.
So we both agree on that one. So
yeah,
that'd be-
let's
that'd
go.
be-
Let's
there-
go to road
okay.
course.
All right, road
All right.
course. We agree on. All right, Bristol.
I don't know.
I don't know. Listen, the day I crashed, I was P1 in practice. Had an awesome race car. When we first went to Bristol, and we had that night practice the night before, Teddy ran a 1499. I was second at 01. We were really, really fast, and broke a rear end or had a problem. So I always had speed at Bristol. I never had a good finish at Bristol,
Mhm.
but I had speed. But I think Danny can, from hearing what he said a while ago, when you're at Bristol and you got a really good car, it's the most fun you'll ever have. When you got a really bad car, you'd rather be
You just
fishing
want to go home.
yeah.
because it's not. It's. I think that modifieds are not designed for Bristol.
I don't think so. No,
And
it's
they tried to put restrictor plates and tall spoilers. Well, when they did that, all it did was allow you to run around there wide open.
Mhm.
Well, that's still pretty sketchy. So I don't think.
Does New Hampshire make the list?
so that's
There you go, Devin. Thanks a lot. Showing me crash again. Anyway, have you run New Hampshire in a
I
modified?
have not, but I'd love to. Like, I think it'd be really
That was
fun.
my bucket. That was one of my bucket lists.
The
Yeah.
speeds here with the
I think it'd be a lot of fun
load on
to,
this
I was able to do the drafting stuff with the trucks and the Xfinity cars, but never drafted a modified. But I think
It's the
it'd be-
weirdest thing. So have you ever been in the front seat and all the windows are up?
Mhm.
And then one of the kids in the back seat rolls the window down,
blah,
and the
blah,
whole car
yeah.
goes. Woo, 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 woo. When you're by yourself, it's just like at Caraway. When you're behind somebody, that's what happens. And your hood, your A posts, your window net, everything in the car does this right here. It's the weirdest feeling.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's
No,
fun.
it's
It's
fun,
really
yeah.
fun. And then when somebody's behind you, the air's coming across you to them, then your car has it's a really neat, it's really cool. That's why I always wanted to do it. And
Yeah.
at the time, I'd never got to run anything other than
Yeah.
half-mile track.
Well, that's
But
like
anyway,
at Talladega and Daytona. Like, you watch the cars, they're doing all this down. Like, that ain't us doing.
No,
That's the air.
that's the air.
You're gonna just counter steer into
see,
it.
I
but-
didn't get to draft even when I did the ARCA test. I didn't
Oh
get to
yeah.
draft.
Well, I mean, you gotta tell Willie we gotta go to we gotta go to
You
Super
go to
Speedway.
Super
I
Speedway?
out.
So
I think Loudon's on there. I'd like to do that. Like, I'm not. That's bucket list for me.
Yeah.
Loudon, then I'm a huge fan of Martinsville. Like, I never
like
ran a
Martinsville.
modified there. Like, I want to run a modified there. So that
You never run a modified there?
no,
Wow.
I ran
okay.
a truck there a couple times, a couple top tens, but nothing, no modified races.
what about Wall Stadium?
They tried that with the NASCAR tour, and it was
From what I saw, I ran the Turkey Derby that one year, and from what I've seen, the races that they've run there, it gets
a little wild.
get wild. Yeah.
So all right. Well, we got two more.
Are we talking about tracks that we haven't run?
I'm just
or
saying
you're
in
just saying
general.
top fact.
I'm just saying in general,
Any
any
track.
track. Yeah. Didn't y'all
Well,
try
they
testing
put
it?
our junkyard on one of them,
Concord,
Concord.
that's Copart. I bought a car from there.
Did you? Yeah, they put a junkyard there. Concord was bad.
That was a cool track.
Didn't they
Concord
do
was
some
bad.
testing at
It
Rockingham?
was awesome. Didn't they do a modified test there one time?
I thought they
Did
did.
Savali and the 79
Yeah, I think so,
car?
yeah.
I thought they said like the car was about to take
I
flight.
see.
or
I'm afraid
something.
it's
I
going to
don't
be
know.
the same scenario as Bristol.
I don't. Yeah,
I
we
don't know
need
that
to.
that's
They're
feasible.
not. We don't have the arrow to
Right.
go like 140 mile an hour is quick enough in those things.
Yeah.
What about Richmond? Richmond's a
Richmond was fun. I
that
did
would
Richmond.
be cool. Yeah, I agree.
Have you,
That would
have you done
a
Richmond
truck.
in a truck?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
went
a
up
cool
there.
track.
The first time I got to go was in Sapp's car, and we were top 6. I think I qualified 6th, run top. I think I finished 6th or 8th or something. But that was one of the ones I done. I did the Denny Hamlin Showdown
Right.
in Mike Dillon's car, and so I'd always say, "Man, I want to run a modified here." And then we took our car back the next year. I think we were 8th in my car, but it's fun
Yeah,
because there's a little drafting, but it's not.
I did not to go, but I think like my favorite track that I've went to at all in a truck was Darlington. I don't know if it'd be too fast for a modified, but
I don't know.
Darlington's pretty.
I
It's a
don't know.
badass racetrack.
I don't know. I did the Dale Jarrett. They had me lined up where I could come just get some laps. And
Yeah.
I did the Dale Jarrett driving, which you know what kind of cars they're.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're this off the ground and gear is real tall gear in it and stuff. But it was cool
Darlington's cool.
how it's laid
I
out.
wonder if in a modified you could get up and run up high like the trucks and
I don't think you'd have the arrow advantage to keep you off the fence, but
Yeah.
like you can.
there's plenty of room to race though. I mean,
Yeah, you can run the bottom and 3 and 4 at the top.
pretty much.
A lot of the tracks that we've
what
been
about
to
Phoenix?
a
I think
lot.
Phoenix would be a cool track. on the
Phoenix would be
modified.
cool. That's one of the ones that when we were talking about doing Martinsville, and we were talking about looking at the schedule and whatnot, which our next weekend off is September 27th or something. So my modified stuff ties all that up. But I'd like to do Phoenix, no matter what it's in. I'd like to do Phoenix. I think I've been told. Have you done Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Struggle.
told it's a lot like Concord. Kind of got the dog leg
Yeah,
kinda.
kind of. Yeah. I don't. I struggled there
You don't
every
like
time. Every time I went there, I'm like, this track should fit my driving style. But
Yeah.
it's like I just
Yeah.
don't. I
It's
didn't
amazing
run
how
well
when you
there.
don't run good somewhere, that place sucks.
Yeah.
That place sucks.
Well, there's some too that I run good at, and I still don't like
Right.
them. So
Well, yeah,
it
it's
goes
true.
both ways.
I kind of based it off of how I run. Like
Yeah.
Tri County for me, like nice place, cool track. I suck there.
I like Tri-County.
I'm
Is that the
terrible.
one where the tunnel goes underneath?
Yeah.
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 I
That's
like
the one. 98, 99, my mom and dad promoted
Okay.
Tri-County. So we spent a lot of time up there.
I like that place just for the simple fact that when I fly the drone for the race, I get to get all the way up on top of the building, huge building to land on. I can see everything. The track's down there. One of my favorite places.
What about like a slinger?
I've never been there. So
No,
I
but
don't
it
know.
might be cool and modified though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got a big race coming up with ASA with the Slinger
I
National.
think it's pretty obvious that I hope that the powers that be are listening. That two of the main drivers in the South in the modifieds said road course.
Yeah.
First thing.
Yeah.
I think your
Man,
road
come
course.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. You'd have to keep it. You'd have to set rules that like you don't build a special road course car.
I
Like
told you my plan though, didn't I? Did I ever tell you about that?
you did tell me. I don't remember all the details.
So if you did 56% left side maximum,
Mhm.
but 55 left side minimum, that
Yeah.
way you couldn't build a car.
Yeah.
And if you have to run that road course car at the oval the next day,
Yeah.
or that same day, you couldn't have different spindles and stuff. Now you could change your wheel offsets.
Yeah.
To me, that'd be really the only thing.
Didn't you say it was Dominion?
Dominion?
Dominion has a
Okay.
road
Yeah,
course
it's got a
there,
road
yeah.
course. And
I
when
mean,
I
that-
talked to Steve Britt about it several years ago, he said, "I'm all in. You just got to make it happen," which means money,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But that'd be cool. You
That'd be a full weekend. Like you just plan your weekend.
yeah.
You know, you
Well,
get a camper
and I
or
think the way
whatever.
I'm trying to remember exactly how I had it figured, but because you're turning right and left, so we run 20s on the left, which is a 26-inch tire diameter, and then a right's a 27. So what you would do is you'd come in and you would buy 4 tires, and they're all 4. Now, how did I have this? You put 20s in the front and 30s in the back. I think's how I had it. But either way, the way you do it is you limit how many tires you can run, and then you come back on the road course from the road course to the oval. You got the same left front on, so you don't have to buy 3 more.
Gotcha.
Because the left front on the road course, you just leave it on there for the oval, and you're on a 75 lap, no tire change.
Yeah.
I had it all
Yeah.
figured
Put
out.
the rears on
I
the
had
back and
yeah.
front lefts on the front, and
Yeah,
have
I
no
had it-
stagger. And
And that way your stagger stays
Yeah.
right. So I had it all planned out because I was really interested in trying to
I'd
see
be
how-
down.
I think that'd be awesome.
Man, I love
With
it.
some of the corners, we'd be probably lugging off with the 2-speed.
Well,
but
here,
it'd
well,
be
so
the
I don't know
same.
if you know this. We went up there several years ago and tested at Dominion. And I said, Steve, we were the only ones there. I said, hey, we were done. I said, I had just to give you an idea, I had a 499 gear in the car,
Mhm.
2-speed transmission, had my spec motor. I said, Steve, can I run some laps on the road course? He's like, heck yeah, man. So the only issue we would have is that real long straightaway where they drag race. When you get about a little over halfway down it, you
Wound out.
you have to hold it.
Yeah.
7,800. You have to watch the tack and just hold it. Now, you could put a chicane there or something like that. But
Yeah.
a 499 gear, like I could shift, and it didn't seem terrible.
Mhm.
Didn't seem terrible. Now, could you go faster by doing different things? Absolutely. But if everybody's in the same boat, it wouldn't matter. But I did 3 laps.
I
on
think
the
it'd be
course,
fun.
and it was cool. It was
I would think
what
that
I wanted to do. It was what I thought it was going to be.
if there was enough interest, which I think there would be, I think there's a lot of modified guys that would watch this and have the same reaction Danny had.
I
Like,
think so.
yeah, I think you could land a good sponsor for that.
Just
I
the
would-
biggest thing would be is just not allowing everybody to change a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it can't
like,
be crazy.
Like you can't be changing the whole front suspension.
No,
and, you
right.
know, obviously we run different offset fronts. Like you got to leave all that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I
And
mean-
that's the way the rule would be formatted is, like, hypothetically, you come in at 8 o'clock that morning, you get a 25-minute practice, and that practice is your qualifying. It's
Yeah.
all included, so you don't
Yeah.
have to take the time to qualify. And then if you want to redraw the top 4 or something like that, and then the finish of that race is the qualifying results for the oval. So if you win, but then you don't draw, you invert. So if you win the road course race, you invert the top 8 because you don't want to give you a chance to draw the pole again
Yeah.
without qualifying. So you invert, and then you do a points. You know how Bowman Gray does their points on 2025 night.
Mhm.
If you finish 1st and 8th, that's a 9. If you get the best average, you get first place points. Now you can have 2 trophies and 2 victory lanes. But as far as points and purse is concerned, the best average gets first place.
Yeah.
Now, if you crash and have to go to a backup car, obviously you start in the rear
Yeah.
at the oval, but don't let them change a gear. 2-speed transmission only.
Yeah.
The only thing you can really change is your offset on your wheels.
And if you really wanted to make this a blowout event, do it same time that Cars Tour's up there.
You could. I don't know if time wise it would be the thing. Because and here's the other thing too. Because I know. See, here's what I did. And this is what I told Chris Williams. I said, he's like, I just don't know if you can make it work. I said, all right, here's the way I'd look at it.
We ran 2 races in one day at different places.
We did.
We
Yeah.
We
could
already
do it
did
at
it
the
one
same
time.
place.
Right?
Yeah.
So here, but you got to think of it this way. If I approach a driver and say, we're thinking about doing this, what do you think? What are his reasons for not wanting to do it? That's the way I look at it. Well, if I'm a guy that says, well, man, all I got's a 2-speed transmission, you say, okay, well, we're going to allow 2 speeds only. Only 2 speeds. They say, well, what about the fans? There's no seating around the road course. So fans are not going to be able to see it. So here's what you do. You know, they got that big screen in the infield.
Yeah.
Have Flo have a couple cameras around the racetrack. Fans buy 1 ticket that morning, and they come in and they watch it on the big screen. They can hear it. You can see them.
Well, you could line up on the drag strip there and watch them come
You
by.
could do that too, but what I'm saying is you can buy a ticket. You can sit in the grandstands and watch it on the screen. You can hear it out loud. You can see them kind of going around, but you can watch the action on the big screen. That same ticket is your ticket for the oval when we come in that night.
Yeah.
See, we're solving all
Dominion
kinds
would
of
be
problems, man.
Dominion would be a perfect place.
I'm
to do it.
down.
It would
I'm
be a
down.
perfect place. to
And
do
the
it.
nice
Really
part
would.
about Dominion is like it's halfway for the North people too.
Yeah, and that's
You know,
another,
if you
that
did
was
an
another
event,
that was
like,
another pro.
A weekend that they're not running, you might get some people. Like I said, if you don't allow a bunch of changes like
Yeah.
that, you can't cost them people more money.
Right.
No, yeah, that defeats the purpose.
But if you can, I mean, I've done a road course in an oval in one day. I
Yeah.
did Watkins Glen and Bowman Gray on the same day, so
Yeah.
I'm down.
That's crazy.
Different cars.
It'd be cool, man. It'd be cool.
I think it'd be fun.
Any stone we didn't leave?
I don't know. You got everything covered on your little list over there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we hit them all. There were a couple I wanted to ask, but I'm not going to.
With him, that's
What do I
scary.
ask?
Yeah, with
Yeah,
him,
well,
that's
some
scary.
things
You
just need
never
to be
know.
kept in private. But where can people get your merchandise?
I usually just sell at the track. You know, we don't have any for the 26 or 25 car yet, but
Is it going to stay 26 or is it going?
we're trying to figure that out. I mean, we did it obviously for clearances and
I mean, the team name's Team 25.
the
I
team
said,
puts
Andretti,
everybody.
how you going to have it Team 25 with
You
26?
know how many-
He said, because you see that sponsor on there. I said, fair enough.
You have
All
to-
about the money.
So
That's what I mean.
my post was I was excited to race for Team 25 and the number 26 at Franklin County. And everyone's like, "What is going?" Like,
Yeah.
you realize you did a typo. I'm like,
Typo.
it'll all make sense
Yeah.
when you see the car. But no, that was a cool deal. You know, talked to Stats Worley for a while. Met Alan with clearances and you know, I'm kind of mad. Like, we had a better car than where we finished, but that's, you know, it's tough. Like, a lot of good cars, and you could go back, same thing, and restarts work out different. And, you know, I'm on the podium or win the race. So I can't, for the first time out with that car, I can't.
Well, you know, I think we agree on this. You got to just, as long as you give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
That's all I ask is give me a chance. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't,
Yeah.
try again.
So if somebody wanted a T-shirt, hat, autographed Speedo, all the stuff that you sell, where would they go to get that?
Bowman, just
Go to
wherever
the
we're
stadium,
racing.
send you
Yeah.
a Facebook post or something?
Yeah, we could. Yeah, you could do that too, for
Okay.
sure. People reach out. We send some stuff out once in a while, but usually at Bowman Gray after the races we have stuff, and yeah, I don't sell as much as Burt and them, but
That is
I
one.
did talk to Andretti the other day about, because I think the plan is to try to run as many as we can with Andretti for the rest of the year, so try to get some merchandise
Yeah,
for that.
That's a good combination, though. You guys and Andretti. I mean, that's too good.
It was
groups
it was
together.
really enjoyable for the first outing. Like, you know, me and him joked around a little bit. It's like, well, yeah, it was a good day. It's like the best thing that happened is we didn't win, because if you won,
You set the bar.
nothing would have been.
That's true.
Right.
Nothing
Nothing
would have
worked
been
for
good
you.
enough
No,
after
yeah,
that.
that's
So
true.
we had a solid day.
Right.
Car ran well. Everybody was happy. So
Cost you $100 for a bumper.
yeah, no, he didn't ask me for the money yet, but I keyed up before I even did it. I'm buying it. But
I love that. That's funny.
but yeah, I think we'll be able to hopefully knock a win off before the end of the year and have some solid runs. So
Good. Well, I know everybody on our side pulls for you. Maybe not so much during the race, but we always enjoy seeing your success, and we appreciate you being here.
It's
We
funny
really do.
because you was talking about people earlier. I guess one of the first things we talk about is acting a certain way in person and behind your back. And I've always been the guy that said, if you don't like me, I don't care. Just leave me alone.
Mhm.
But I can't stand it when a guy talks to me and he's nice to me.
Right.
And then I know what he says. And I've never had that with Danny. I hope I can say that. I hope I
we
have it.
had a little.
I don't mean
couple
that we
times.
haven't had run-ins. I just mean that, we texted a lot before the Cup thing.
Yeah.
We both know Willie. I've never. I think Danny knows me enough to know that whatever you get, what you see is what you get, and I feel like Danny's that same kind of person. So it's not that we're buddies. I like Danny a lot, and I think we're good. It's racing. You're not buddies. You're
Right.
good.
Right.
You good with him?
Right.
We're good.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
But I
agree.
mean,
Yeah.
I could hang out with Danny.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem, no whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now we might get into it this weekend, but you know what we'll do? We'll talk about it like men.
Right.
And if he gets me or I get him, we'll get the other one back and we'll say, man. But I feel like we're good.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I agree.
But I think the one thing that me and Danny have in common is we have a lot of the same dislikes.
Yeah.
I won't say anymore, but I think we have
Fair
a lot
enough.
I think we have a lot of the same dislikes.
Well,
So that's our niche,
Yeah,
right?
there's
That's
your
our
niche. That's
so,
right.
I like Danny, and I think we're good. I'm glad he was on. First thing he said was, "Well, you good with Danny?" I say, "Yeah, man, that'll be fun."
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
That'd be
I
fun.
appreciate the
So,
invite.
Yeah.
One of the funny, so you might not even remember this one. When I first decided to race at the stadium, I think my dad either got in touch with you or whoever was crew chiefing for you at the same time, and we were in the air about what rear ends to run. Like obviously you run the differential rear there, and it was either you or your crew chief at the time. He's like, "Yeah, I talked to them, and they don't know what's in their rear end." I'm like, "You don't know what's in his
It
rear?
wasn't
You don't
me.
know, you
It
don't know
wasn't
what
me.
differential he's
I
got?"
think I probably know who that was at the
So,
time, and that sounds like
I'm
something
like,
he'd
"Well,
say.
that's helpful." So but one thing that stood out, like, I went there the 200 lap run. I struggled. Like I got Junior Miller put me in the infield, lapping me. Like I was terrible. But won the second night I was there. We got I think you actually come over and be like, "Hey man, like you're starting on the pole in the next race." I'm like, "Well, I finished 8th. How am I starting on the pole?" And you're like, "Well,
Yeah.
you got the invert." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" But anyway, won the race. Well, the week after that, we came back. You actually brought me the newspaper article of
I think I
me
remember
winning.
that.
So
yeah.
it was like, I mean, that was pretty cool. Like he didn't have to do that. And like back then, like I was just the new kid. Nobody really knew who I was. So, that one that stood out. And then yeah, we've had run-ins. I was the
we
kid
raced
that
together,
I was the kid that like, yeah, I beat his back bumper off, and yeah, you want to run into me, I'm going to run into you. But we always had a general respect
Yeah,
for each other,
absolutely.
and their
Absolutely.
equipment, and
Well,
we
and
race hard.
Because I'll be the first to tell you, he's asked me about some other people. I said, I'm not going to sit over here and act like I like this guy.
Yeah,
He's asked me about having certain people here.
Yeah.
I said, no. Could we, if it wasn't us with our
Right.
podcast,
Right.
and Fox wanted to do an interview with me and a certain driver that I didn't want to do, I'd say, yeah, sure. And I could have a civil conversation, and I could, but I don't want to sit here and act like I like them.
yeah,
Well, it
So
takes
that's why I was okay with you, because I like you. And
Well,
I
when-
think-
when
I
you
think
can
we're
be-
good. So
when you can be humble enough to walk over, after there's some tension or whatever on track, whatever, and be humble enough to walk over and be like, "Hey, man, like, what the hell, man, where are we at?" You hash it out and everything's fine. Even if there's some yelling and screaming involved, if an hour later you're like, "Man, are we good? Yeah, we're good." That's great. It's the ones that act like a jackass, and then there's nothing else after that. I'm not saying you have to, go apologize for everything you do, but there's people you can have, communication with and work things out, and there's some people that are just never wrong in their own head, and that's just tough to deal
well,
with.
a lot of it too is I hope it never happens. Hypothetically, me and Danny have an issue this weekend with each other. He knows, and I know, that if he gets into me or I get into him and one of us spins or something, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't because I was just being a jerk.
Right.
If one of us moves the other one for the win, all we do is expect it back next time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, just like what happened to me at the beginning of the year. Okay. I stuck my head in Brandon Ward's window. I said, I'd have done the same thing you did.
Yeah.
When I do it back to you, I don't want to hear it. He said, I won't. And when I moved him for the other week, never said a word.
Yeah. I can
Never said a
respect
word.
that. 100%.
I'm good with that.
I can respect
I'm
that.
good with that. Whether we talked about the $20,000, even if the guy has never done anything to you, but you feel like, I really want to win this race, right? And you might take it over the edge just a little bit. It's not, and you don't call that malicious. It was intentional, but you do it, but you also understand that it's coming back to you.
Mhm.
I'm man enough to say, I know I got it coming, right? There was a year that me and Tim were racing for a championship, last race of the year. And I had the position, or Tim had the positions on me. So we went into 3. It was Tim and another guy and me. It was John Smith. I'll just tell you, it was Tim and John Smith and then me. When we got to 3, I put the bumper on John and pushed him right into Tim and pushed him out wide, and I won the championship. And John ended up getting tore up. And after the race, everything was cool. We were getting ready to leave. And it was John and Andretti and all of them standing over. And I said, hey, I know I got it coming. You were an innocent bystander.
Yeah.
And this was younger in my career. So there's a disclaimer. We talked about how you drive differently. But I said, I got it coming. And 3 years later, John happened to be racing with me for a championship. And he got me.
Mhm.
He got me. And my fans went nuts. They hated his guts. Do you know what I said?
Had it coming.
Had that coming.
Yeah.
So I wish that, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I'm right, but I'm saying if me and Danny kind of have the same mentality, we both won championships and win races,
Yeah.
we might be kind of on the right path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a racer's mentality. And the problem with Bowman Gray is it's set up for entertainment. And some guys think that, I don't want to say, you know what? I don't want to go down that hole, but you have to respect the guy you're racing with. And back when I was coming up, the last place I wanted to be was in front of one of those veterans that was a half a second faster than me. Now I tried to hold my own, but when I realized, look, it's getting serious.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. Follow that guy. Maybe you get some more spots.
Right.
And the mentality over the years, because of Madhouse and because of the TV shows and because of the exposure that Bowman Gray's gotten over the years and their format with entertainment, guys don't have that mentality anymore. They just don't.
And then when you move them, they get pissed
mad.
off.
Yeah.
They
It's
get,
like,
they get slower, and then you finally get by them, and then they want to run back into you. It's like, man,
if someone's faster than me and if you move me up and you get by me, take the spot, like, cool, I'm cool with it.
Right.
If because of restart, you bonsai in
Right.
and clean, like,
use a caution to get me or
it's
something like that.
really, dude.
Yep.
Like, and yeah, I've moved you, you've moved me, I've moved other cars, and if you're faster than me and you do it back, like, whatever, like,
Right.
just don't wreck me.
Don't wreck me.
Like, if I didn't wreck you, don't wreck me.
Right.
And I get stuff happens, but
Well, and that's what I was asking earlier. Like, you can move some people, but there's some people that
Yeah.
you would move, like you might move him a particular way, and you know that's all
Well,
gonna happen.
here's
He's
the
gonna
deal.
Move, you can go under. But there's some people you do that exact same thing to, and they power up and loop it around, and you're like,
I know what you're getting at. Me and Danny can race each other harder than some other guys.
Mhm.
Like, I can give you more because I know you can hold it. You can give me more because I'll hold it.
Mhm.
But there's some guys you give them more and they spin out.
yeah.
And I'm not saying it's driver. Maybe their car's not as
Yeah,
good as it
or
needs
it's
to be.
lack
But I'm just saying in a
experience or whatever.
scenario
Yeah.
that's what you're getting at,
Yeah.
right? But it's funny because just looking up there, he's still got the screen up here. It makes me think. I remember whenever Facebook was coming along, right? And Stephen O'Neill, he says, we need to do a Facebook page. My brand manager, he said, we need to do a Facebook page. I said, no, I'm not, I don't care nothing about going on social media. I don't want nothing to do with it. He said, no, but you have to do a social media page. He said, sit down, here's the login, here's how you do it, but you need to create a Facebook page. And then if you pull up my Facebook page, it says in quotations, If you're using your back bumper to keep me behind you, it's my job to use my front back bumper to get past you. I think that sums it up.
Yeah.
That sums it up. If you're faster than me and we get a restart, I might give you some love, but I'm not going to knock you out of the way because in 3 laps, you're going to gap me. And there's a lot of guys that use that Bowman Gray mentality. It's Bowman Gray. This is how you have to do it.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a caution. This is my opportunity. No, it's not. No, it's not. And Bowman Gray has created that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. But Bowman Gray has created the mentality with their inverts and the redraws. And I think you could probably feel the same way as I do. If I qualify 12th, and I know I'm a half a second off in practice from the top cars, and I draw the pole, a lot of guys will think in their mind, tonight's my night.
Yeah.
Tonight's my night. Going to get my win tonight. Probably not.
No.
Okay, probably not. And like I said, I don't want that to sound like I'm disrespecting somebody. Okay, because I've been that guy. And the reason I'm going to come back and tell you this, I've been that 12th place car. The last place I wanted to be was in front of them.
Yeah.
Right? So Slate the other night was talking about how bad his car was. Man, my car was awful. I'm kind of glad you didn't draw me on the pole because my car was awful.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. Now, do you still start there? And you kind of fall in but what I always did was fell in line where I was comfortable.
Yeah.
Like if it was Daddy and Philip and Junior and Ralph, and back in the day when I first started, I said, all right, who's behind me? That's Ralph. All right, I'll get behind Ralph and I'll run behind him for a while. And then you run and you run and run. And then Philip Smith catches you. All right, we'll try to hold on here. All right, he's giving me, you know what? Go ahead. All right, now I'm good. That's how we grew up. That's how I grew up anyway. That's how I grew up. But then when I started getting competitive, I was the guy that knocked everybody out of the way. So I get it because I bought into all sides of it. And that's why I feel like I can speak halfway intelligently about it because I've been every color there is.
Well, and it helps, but it also helps. Like, and there's enough younger drivers now coming up through modifieds that you guys that have had success that have been have learned the balance of aggression, when to take as opposed to when to give. Like I've always felt like you got to teach those younger guys. Like I'm not saying act like you know everything, but pick your moments. Like if you see an opportunity, go up and talk to, let's just use Paulie Hartwick, for example. He's young. His dad, I think, has raced. Well, I know he raced a lot, but if you guys got into it or something, and you got a chance to go, hey man, instead of X, Y, and Z, you might want to think about and coach them up because there's not a whole lot of that going on anymore. Like
No.
it's all about just drive him out of the way and go win. Winning's everything. Well,
It also depends on who it is.
to your point, though, sometimes driving that way is going to cost you more wins
Yeah.
than taking it. So
Depends on who it is because
Yeah.
I know some young drivers now that if you tried to do that, they would take offense to it. Who do you think you are to tell me how to drive? Even at young ages. So it just depends. But I mean, dude, racing's no different than life. All a
Sure.
game.
Yeah.
It's who plays the game the best. That's all it's about.
Yeah.
But we have a good time doing it.
That's
Most of
right.
the time anyway. Not all
Most
the
of the
time.
time, yeah.
Most of the time we have a good time doing it. So
well, let's wrap it up for this week. As always, any Burt, Slate, George Phillips, Mark Modified Tour.
I don't know if that's on there or not yet or
I
not.
don't
This
know if
is
it
one
is.
of them shirts that I know they put back up.
Yeah.
With the camo that
Yes.
matched the camo.
RaceFanGear.com. Go there for all your stuff. I think the diecasts are coming in before too long. Are they not?
I'm not sure exactly when it's
Yeah,
coming
I think
in. but
August maybe.
Are you bringing like you've changed
I ain't
white,
bringing no more
blue,
blue.
camo?
No more blue.
What are you running?
So we did the
The is cool.
I love the
Camo
camo,
is cool.
but we did that for a Memorial Day thing,
Gotcha.
right? Well, the next race is 4th of July, so we thought,
We'll
okay,
leave
we'll
it,
keep
yeah.
it for that too. So we actually got something really cool we're working on for the beach weekend.
Mhm.
I don't want to talk about it yet, but Sag Raps did such a great job for us, and we're going to talk to him about doing something cool. But we had the blue, and then as soon as I changed it at the stadium, we
Started
started
winning,
winning
yeah.
races. And like I told you, I'm not superstitious, but don't argue with it if it works. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Now my backup car's still blue just because it's the backup car. But I don't know what we'll do. I don't know what we'll do yet. So we'll see. Somebody
Fair
brought it
enough.
to our attention that the Detroit Lions, don't care how good they play, something always happens to keep
Mhm.
them out of the Super Bowl and from winning the Super Bowl. And that Detroit Lions blue was my, was
If you'd
my
have gone- if
bad
you'd have-
mojo is what I was told.
If you'd have
So,
called it Duke Blue, you'd probably been all right. But you
Yeah.
called it Detroit Lion
yeah,
Blue.
it was Detroit. I looked it up to make sure I was getting the right thing because I like those colors.
I think you should go back to blue. It might give me a chance to win over there.
Come on now. It
I
is
watched-
funny. The car for years we called the blue car,
Yeah,
and I had the orange car. And now he's the orange car and I'm the blue car.
yeah.
So at one
roles
point there,
are
I was like,
reversed.
holy cow, how did this just happen?
I'm sure both garages at different times said, "What in the hell are we doing?"
Yeah.
No,
Well,
you're-
listen, this weekend we've got Twin 50s, Bowman Gray. July 4th weekend, somewhere in there is going to be Caraway. Make sure and come out and check out Danny, check out Burt, get some of Danny's swag. He brought me a nice shirt I was going to wear today, but a young lady actually gifted me this one. I just felt like it was appropriate to wear this week of all weeks, so I decided to wear this one. So, Amanda, appreciate you making a t-shirt. I'll give you a plug a little bit later. But yeah, make sure and get out to the track. Check us out. Hopefully the weather holds out for everybody. And Danny, again, we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me
were
on.
One of the, literally one of the first ones when we started talking about doing this. I said we gotta get Danny on. He'll be fun. So, hopefully you keep all four wheels right side up from now on, and I'm sure we'll see you in victory lane before too long. So,
I don't know about the stadium.
you always manage.
He says that. Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
running for second right now.
Yeah,
Well-
no, trust me, you'll be carrying the checkers. We
Yeah.
know that. But at any rate, thank you again for watching. Make sure and drop us a like. Tell us where you're watching from. And if you have any ideas, good, bad, or indifferent, let us know. See you next time.